Hello, this is Caroline Mackham reporting live from Lake Placid, New York at the 1980 Winter Olympics. But today is no ordinary day at the Olympics. The biggest rivalry in hockey is about to take place. The Soviets will take on the Americans in the most heated game yet. I'm here with Katie Platt, who is down at the arena. And Katie, down to you.
Hello Caroline, this rivalry is huge as you said. The Soviets have won every Winter Olympics ice hockey tournament since 1960. The majority of the players have been playing together for many years. In contrast, the Americans have a collection of college students with little history of playing together. However, the U.S. team features several highly promising players that could continue to play in the NHL. This is Katie Platt reporting from the Olympic arena. Caroline, back to you.
Yes, Katie, thank you. If the U.S. team is able to win this game, it will forever go down in history. The game is just in the opening minute, so let's go down to the arena.
Comes Morrow, will chase it down with Ramsey, and we'll have an icing call here. So again, the face-off in the Soviet end with 10:46 remaining.
Well, here's where the game becomes a little bit painful, especially for the U.S. team. They know they're playing against a Soviet team that's very good and very explosive, and they're trying to get to a point where they can set the proper course of the game for them. They want the enthusiasm, but they also want the control, and they've got to find the proper balance.
Looks like it's going to be a close one. Both teams look at the top of their game. But why is this such a big rivalry? Events in the past, mostly the Cold War, has created this bitter rivalry today. Let's go to Katie for more information.
Thank you, Caroline. As we said before, this rivalry is huge and started years ago. During World War II, U.S. and Soviets joined forces to fight the Germans and defeat the Nazis. Once we defeated them, our soldiers embraced each other warmly, but the leaders regarded each other much cooler. This animosity then led to a nearly half-century conflict called the Cold War.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. Behind that line lie all the capitals of the ancient states of Central and Eastern Europe.
Cold War not only affected the Soviets and the Americans, but it also affected other countries. Here's Katie with more information.
As the Cold War went on, Chinese Communist leader Mao Zedong tried to get the people in China to turn to communism. High school and college students helped by standing up and spreading the communist ideas to everyone and used violence against those who disagreed with their thoughts. To try and use the success of the Russian 5-year plans, Mao set up the plan of the Great Leap Forward. Mao had the people living together in dorms and used large farms to feed and house everyone. However, when there was a famine in the farms, more than 20 million people died, and it really was a great leap back instead. In Korea, there were tensions between communist Northern Korea and Southern Korea. So the UN sent in troops to South Korea to help drive out the North, which was known as the Korean War. In Vietnam, young Vietnamese nationalist Ho Chi Minh turned to communism once he saw how much he could benefit from it. He started the revolutions in North Vietnam trying to promote communism, while the South still protested against it. The Vietnam Army fought against the French, but the French were cut off from supplies and they surrendered to Vietnam. Once France surrendered, the domino theory was brought up. It was a threat that the countries would turn to communism one by one. In Vietnam, there was lots of violence. The Viet Cong, communist guerrillas, fought and killed those who disagreed with the communist ideas. President Lyndon B. Johnson told America that they were joining the war in Vietnam because they had sunk our ships, known as the Gulf of Tonkin incident. In Cuba, Cuban troops set up missiles that could easily be shot to the U.S. When the U.S. saw this, they spoke to Castro, Cuban leader, and Stalin, and they made the promise not to shoot them if the U.S. promised not to invade them. In Iran, we helped them and gave them different supplies to help them modernize and stay friends with us and not the Soviets. Even with all the help, many Iranians were still living in poverty, and Ayatollah Khamenei led a religious opposition that was against Western ideas. These religious groups rioted against the U.S. ideas and in Islam. The people were so angry that they attacked the U.S. embassy and held more than 60 Americans hostage. When war broke out between Iran and Iraq, the U.S. secretly supported both sides because they did not want to upset any of the powers. However, Soviets were supporting Iraq. In Afghanistan, they remained independent. But in the 1950s, when Soviet influence was starting to increase and revolts started to break out in Iran, it led to the Soviet invasion in 1979. Due to the new Soviet president, troops were brought out for 10 years, and then Soviet Union started having their own economic issues. The Chinese and Soviet relations started to lessen due to lack of trust in each other, and they started to disagree with each other. Instead of being on brinksmanship, a new policy was made, détente, the policy of lessening Cold War tensions. Also, SALT, strategic arms limitation talks, were held to discuss the limitations of shootings the countries could have.
No wonder this game is such a big rivalry. Let's go back and get updated on the game.
Tries to get it out in front. Loose puck. Out in front, and Davy Christian able to get his stick on it. To clear it away. Schneider, Buzz, long slap shot, saved by Mushkin.
The U.S. team is depending a little bit too much now on Jim Craig. He's making too many good saves.
Eruzione! Mike Eruzione!
So far, let's go recap to the international chess game for recap on what we've learned so far.
We are at the international reenactment of the Cold War between the U.S. and the Soviets. Our finalists, Alexandria Rozbowski representing the Soviets and Jane Smith representing the U.S. Alright girls, take your places. Are we ready?
Yes.
Play some chess. And now the first move from Alexandria.
The Iron Curtain.
This was the invisible separation of Eastern Communist Europe and Western Europe. How will Smith respond?
Containment.
In order to help the communism president, Truman introduced the Truman Doctrine, military aid, and the Marshall Plan, economic aid to help non-communist countries stay that way. Next move from Alexandria.
The Berlin Blockade.
When Soviets blocked entrances to Berlin under Allies' control, their goal was to get control of the entire city. And Smith's response?
The Berlin Airlift.
U.S. and UK Air Forces flew over Berlin and provided daily necessities to Berliners. How will Rozbowski respond?
The Berlin Wall.
This was a barrier separating East Germany from East Berlin. And U.S.'s move?
Spy games.
The Americans sent planes over to spy on the Soviets. McCarthyism was also introduced, which was anti-communist movement in the U.S. that accused thousands of Americans for supporting communism. Russia responds with the Warsaw Pact, their own pact between communist countries. The U.S. has no other choices, so Russia responds again with Sputnik. This was the first rocket that got to space. The U.S. felt nervous about this and made the last move of going to the moon in 1968. Wow, what an intense game of chess. Back to you, Caroline.
No wonder this game is such a big rivalry. Let's go back and get updated on the game.
There. Now Johnson, 19 seconds. Johnson over to Ramsey. Bilyaletdinov gets checked by Ramsey. McClanahan is there. The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Hockey team and their amazing defeat over the Soviets. Looking back, these two countries have been enemies for a while, and to play such an amazing, incredible, intense game was just incredible to watch. Thanks for watching this news show. This is Caroline Mackham signing off from the 1980s Lake Placid, New York Olympics.